Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into the world of gifted preschoolers, but we're going to look at it through a really helpful lens, thinking of yourself as a gardener. See, it's not about trying to force a plant to grow faster. It's about understanding the unique little seed you have and then creating the absolute best environment for it to blossom. Right off the bat, let's get one thing really clear. Especially when kids are this young, our goal here is not to slap a label on them or get some formal diagnosis. Nope, it's much simpler. It's about paying attention, really observing, and then providing the kind of support your child needs to truly, happily thrive. So if you are a parent, a grandparent, a caregiver, and you've just noticed that little something extra, maybe a deeper intensity, a wild curiosity in your preschooler, then you are in exactly the right place. This whole explainer is for you. Now, these preschool years, this is when these traits really start to show themselves. But remember, we're not looking for one isolated incident, like one smart comment. What we're really looking for are patterns, consistent ways of thinking and being that you see over time. So let's explore what some of those patterns look like. Okay, first up, let's talk about that imagination. Because for these kids, playtime isn't just about moving toys around. Oh no, it is a full-blown production. They are building entire worlds, complete with really complex stories and surprisingly sophisticated problems to solve. And I'm not talking about simple make-believe. This is when a dollhouse story suddenly includes time travel or a tough moral dilemma. It's when a superhero game pauses for a surprisingly accurate mini-lecture on gravity. You might also see them get completely absorbed in a complex puzzle that's way above their age range, or remember tiny details from a bedtime story you read them weeks ago. It's that blend of deep, logical thinking with this rich, wild fantasy that's so unique. You know, that advanced thinking often spills over into another really clear sign, an early and almost natural fascination with symbols. We're talking about letters, numbers, the building blocks of how we understand the world. They just seem drawn to them. And you'll see this pop up everywhere. It could be your 4-year-old suddenly reading words on street signs, or maybe they're sorting their Lego bricks, not just by color, but by color, size, and shape. It even happens at snack time, when they carefully cut their sandwich perfectly down the middle because they're exploring what half really means. But maybe one of the most powerful signs of all is the kind of questions they ask. It's not just what's that. It's the why and the how that reveal a mind that's wrestling with huge philosophical ideas, things you wouldn't expect a little kid to even think about. So a question like, why do leaves change color? It's not just simple curiosity. For them, that's often the jumping off point for a whole conversation about seasons and life and change. And when a 4-year-old looks you dead in the eye and asks, what is infinity? Yeah, you know you're dealing with a mind that's thinking on a whole different level. Of course, having this kind of unique wiring, it's not always easy. It can come with its own set of challenges. The trick is to see these not as flaws or problems, but just as part of your child's whole ecosystem, things that we need to understand and navigate with a lot of patience and love. Okay, here's a key idea you'll want to get familiar with. It's called social asynchrony. It sounds academic, but the idea is actually really simple. It just means there's a mismatch. You got a child with the brain of a much older kid, but they still have the emotional and social skills of a 4 or 5-year-old. And that gap, it can cause some real friction. So what does this mismatch actually look like? Well, you might notice they'd much rather talk to adults because the conversations are just more interesting. With kids their own age, when they try to organize these complex games they've imagined, it can come across as them being bossy. And sometimes, frankly, it's just easier for them to retreat and play by themselves. Now, there's another really important layer here, something called twice exceptionality, or 2E for short. This is when a child is gifted and they also have a learning difference, like ADHD or autism. The really tricky part is that sometimes these two sides of them can mask each other, which makes it harder to see what's really going on. For instance, that super high energy and distractibility you're seeing, it could be a sign of co-occurring ADHD. Or what about that intense, almost obsessive focus on one single topic, like dinosaurs or trains? That might point towards autism spectrum traits. And if they get easily overwhelmed by loud noises or bright lights, that could signal a sensory processing difference. Now, let me be clear. This is about noticing patterns, not making a diagnosis. Just being aware of these possibilities is a huge first step. All right, so we've talked about what to look for, and we've talked about some of the challenges. Now let's get to the good stuff, the practical part. What can you actually do? Let's stock your gardener's toolkit. Okay, when those huge philosophical questions come your way, here's a super simple, super powerful little formula. First, just validate it. Wow, that is such an interesting question. Next, explore it with them. And it's totally okay to say, you know what, I'm not sure. Let's find out together. And finally, encourage even more questions. You want to keep that fire of curiosity burning bright. You know, a really great home environment is built from all these small, consistent things. It means having simple, open-ended stuff to play with, like cardboard boxes and scarves, that lets their imagination do the heavy lifting. You can use role-playing to gently practice tricky social moments. And if your child gets overwhelmed easily, building sensory breaks into your daily routine can be an absolute game changer. And maybe the most important tip of all, praise their effort, their persistence, not just how smart they are. Praising how hard they worked on something builds so much more resilience in the long run. But all this amazing support can't just stop at your front door, right? The environment at their preschool or school is every bit as important for helping their unique minds grow. The name of the game here is partnership. It's all about teaming up with your child's teachers. Open up a conversation. Share what you're seeing at home. You can gently advocate for little tweaks, like having some extra, more challenging activities on hand for when your child finishes early. You could even suggest things like fidget tools to help with focus, or a buddy system with a slightly older kid for social practice. It's all about working together for your child. So as we start to wrap this up, I really want to bring us back to our main idea, back to that gardener metaphor. This is not a race. It is not a competition. The goal here isn't to create some kind of perfect genius preschooler. The goal is just to support a happy, healthy, thriving little human. And for all of you on this journey in South Africa, please know you are not doing this alone. There are some truly fantastic resources out there for you. Organizations like Gifted Children South Africa have guides, they have parent networks, they can help connect you with specialists and other families who know exactly what you're going through. So I'll leave you with this one thought. After everything we've talked about today, what is one small thing, one tiny action you can take today? Maybe it's just asking one more open-ended question at dinner tonight, or maybe it's praising their effort instead of the outcome, or just taking 5 quiet minutes to really listen to one of their big ideas. Whatever you choose, know that even one small act of support can make a world of difference.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.